Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of your show, The Untold. I'm your host, Fatma Al-Awadi, and today we have another amazing guest, Mr. Amr Ismail. He is a holistic specialist, and he's going to talk to us about the holistic approach and also his experience with overcoming the disease that, left him in pain and how he reversed his symptoms and reversed that disease. Of course, I cannot wait to share this episode with you, and we'll see you soon. Hello, everyone. We are now with Mr. Amr Ismail. Welcome to our show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Amr, of course, we want to know all about your journey. But first, can you start telling us a little bit about what holistic therapy is?
Right, absolutely. So holistic therapy is, I'm not going to say it's new. I think it's been around for hundreds of years. But the way I look at holistic therapy is, if we look at the body and its systems, we can say that there's about 11 different systems in the body. Holistic therapy looks at one system. Mm-hmm. So we look at your body as one and not differentiate between the systems, because everything's interconnected in the end of the day. So this is kind of how I look at it, and this is how a lot of people in the industry also perceive it as well.
Wow. And is it different from traditional therapy methods? How is it different?
Well, obviously, you've got your conventional and traditional methods of medicine, so on and so forth. So in my field, we don't resort to substances. We don't resort to medicines. We try and find natural certain elements to help you recover or to help you improve your health. Those are some of the things that we try to basically focus on. Mm-hmm. So everything non-invasive, non-substance based, and obviously when the body is exposed to those kind of elements, it responds a lot faster to stuff like that. Obviously, modern medicine takes a very big part in helping us achieve a lot of the results, but at the end of the day, the body, sometimes everyone's different. Mm-hmm. And so this is what kind of holistic therapy is breaking down what works for you as a person and not trying to keep it as masses and trying to apply one method to one set of people, basically.
I agree that, Western medicine helps us, but I'm kind of leaning towards the holistic part. Is that normal?
Absolutely. I mean, because you feel sometimes that your body relates to it more. You can feel that, hey, this feels a little bit more natural, as opposed to sometimes, God forbid, if you have to take any medication, there's some side effects that maybe that might occur, so on and so forth. So usually with ours, it's very kind of low risk, and you don't really get exposed to a lot of side effects, because at the end of the day, it's more natural. So your body really understands and responds to it.
And how did you first get into holistic therapy? And of course, how did you decide to become a specialist?
Right. Well, from a young age, I was born asthmatic. I had a lot of allergies. Oh. I spent the vast majority of my childhood in a hospital and doing doctor visits and going back and forth and medications, so on and so forth. So it was very challenging growing up, but at the same time, that taught me a lot of discipline. Do you get what I mean? So from a young age, a strict no is a strict no. I'm able to do this. I'm able to do this. So
resilience, of course. Too.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And so that also helped me kind of develop my mindset. But I got into it because I really want to understand how things work. So this is me and my nature. I like to know how things work. So when I was having all these ailments and I really want to understand how it works, obviously the doctors, they would explain it to you, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense to you. And obviously anyone that maybe has been doing some visits here and there, sometimes they want an explanation that they can really understand, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to them. So they want to explore more options. They want to understand more. So for me, this is kind of why I got into it. So from a young age, my dad, God rest his soul, bought me a Britannica encyclopedia back in the day when we didn't have Google and the internet. So I would read about certain diseases, I'd read about certain conditions, so on and so forth. I like to know how to understand how it works. So this is where my interest kind of began in understanding human health, more or less. And obviously a little bit further down, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Which is?
Fibromyalgia is this condition where more or less everything on the inside is inflamed and you're living in constant levels of pain of 8, 9 out of 10. Some days I can't get out of bed, swellings.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah, for sure.
This is serious. I'm sorry. You don't look like you have that.
Yes. So I've actually reversed it myself.
Mashallah.
So I stayed with it for 9 years,
Okay.
from the age of 19 till about 28, more or less.
Yes.
And I was able, through different studying, different workshops, and different academies that I attended, I've learned how to reverse it myself. And this is why in my business, this is kind of what it is that I wanted to teach other people and show them how to do it. And that's kind of the journey that got me into becoming a holistic therapist.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm
yeah.
trying to wrap my mind around that. So you've reversed your symptoms and your the condition itself too.
Right, yeah.
So
So
can we say that it is free now? You're free now
I
from it.
am 99% pain free. You know what I mean? You
Mashallah.
get random flare ups here and there because obviously I push my body to the limits
Okay.
with all the traveling, with everything, with all the platforms I'm opening up across the region.
Yes.
So obviously, yes. So like I push the limits sometimes. I feel some discomfort, but nowhere close to what it is that I used to experience when I was much younger. There was days where I just couldn't get out of bed. If I'd be wearing my rings when I'm asleep, and obviously my body would swell up, I struggled to remove one of my rings off, and it was definitely a struggle. And the only way to manage that was antipsychotic medication back in the day,
Mm.
very heavy medication, and I
Especially
didn't
for young people.
and I didn't want to do it, to be honest. I tried like a couple of them, a week and a week off, and I was like, you know what? I'd rather just go train, get strong, keep my
Yes.
muscles strong. And I mean, understanding obviously things that cause inflammation, things that can aggravate my condition a little bit more, and just focusing on making sure that I don't leave a certain routine that I had. You know what I mean? And today, this is what I'm trying to empower people with the knowledge that they can use the same to reverse these kind of conditions as well.
And
So.
and when we're speaking on that topic, who is the ideal person for holistic therapy, and what are the problems that you see are effective for, or maybe holistic therapy is effective for?
Yeah, I'm going to be very honest with you. From my honest opinion, I have an issue with always sometimes calling it therapy or so on and so forth, because therapy means that you might actually have something wrong with you. But if I
Okay.
come to take a look at it, let's break it down a little bit. We'll unpack it. If day to day I expose myself to certain stressors, right? So technically, I need to recover from these stressors. People can get stressed by just sitting in the car and driving at certain speeds. The body's not designed to handle stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's a certain stress that you need to basically recover from. So in terms of calling it therapy, it's not my favorite word, but that's what the industry is. But for me, it's just basically understanding the basic things of how to take care of yourself, the fundamentals of the things that you need to pay attention to increase your longevity. You know what I mean? Physically, on a physical level at least.
So
So taking care
holistic
of your
path.
wellness, more of like
Yeah.
a holistic wellness path or a holistic
Yeah.
journey or a recovery journey. And you should definitely pay attention to doing things every day to kind of improve your wellness, improve your health, and take care of yourself, whether it's on a mental level, because like I said, interconnected systems, right? You don't break it down. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're always doing the best possible thing for your body and for your health. So basically, anyone who could have some pain inflammation, could have any autoimmune disorders, they're the ones that usually could benefit from, let's say, holistic therapy. But at the same time, even if there's nothing wrong with you, you're exposing yourself to these daily stressors, whether it's environment, whether it's people, whether it's, stressing yourself on a mental level. Because for me, stress, anxiety, depression is not always mental. It could also be physical, right? So sometimes just understanding these things and then just putting a certain protocol or routine for yourself to follow, just so you could optimize, how you feel and just make sure you're always sharp, and increasing and maintaining that longevity, like we said.
Okay, that's why when before we started the episode, someone called you a holistic therapist, and you were like specialist. But okay,
Yeah.
therapist is good.
Yeah.
I thought, why? What's the difference? I
Yeah.
understand now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
I
Yes.
for me, if it was up to me, I'd like to be more of like a mentor, more of an instructor. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And this is kind of where my passions also lie with the specialists that I kind of train and help them also understand a different way of looking at the body and a different way of assessing it.
Of course.
Because
Yes.
unfortunately, this is not taught in one place. So it's not like a university degree that you go and you get. Travel throughout Europe and different places to kind of put together a certain approach that we use today and how we kind of look at the body and perceive it.
And speaking about, you can be a mentor to us who don't know a lot about this holistic path. Do you have to have a degree in it?
Well, it depends on where you are, I guess. But I do believe that having some sort of a background or a degree, yes, you do have to be certified. It's not like someone can just walk off the street and call himself a holistic therapist. Unfortunately, today this is, let's just say, the stigma or the issue that is what people could perceive as someone that it works in holistic or alternative medicine is someone that is not certified, not qualified. But there are academies, there are universities, there are a lot of places that teach. It's just whenever I looked at the curriculum, I was like, okay, this is not something I want to learn. This is like a language I've already been listening to that I didn't feel I could benefit from. So, for example, if we take China and Eastern medicine, you have doctors there studying Western medicine, but at the same time, if they say anything about Eastern medicine, they lose their license to practice anything whatsoever. So I mean,
I've
these are
heard of that.
people that will understand, and that's a culture that will understand that if you can combine both and you actually work together, then you're going to find the best benefit for the people that you're accepting. You know?
Is it because they want to advertise Western medicine because of the pharmaceutical agenda? Is it
Well,
that what that path? That's why we don't have a lot of research on Eastern medicine or holistic.
right, but for example, let's just say the previous pandemic when it was going through, a lot of people were doing meditation, so a lot of research was coming on meditation. Then look at the influence that meditation was doing for a lot
Yes.
of people. It actually carried a lot of people over and through that time. Can I say that could it be more research? Could it be more funded? Sure, but does it make as much money? Maybe not. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
I
see.
mean, they're not going to charge you for breathing. If you
No.
want to meditate, I mean, no one's going to charge you for the air that you breathe. Well, it
Yes.
depends maybe
Yeah.
where you live, I guess, but do you get what I mean? So,
Yes, of
so
course.
at the end of the day, unfortunately, in some aspect, if you look at the healthcare system, we've kind of maybe let go of the care and it just became more of a system.
Yes.
Unfortunately, sometimes that's where it could be, maybe in some places. But at the end of the day, the individual has the choice. You always have the right to choose or refuse. This is what I always say when I talk to my clients.
Wow. And it's always better to go for the holistic path rather than become a jelly bean bag and just jot down all the medicine and the pills that are in front of you, right?
I believe a combined approach is always the best approach.
Okay.
Whenever you expose your body to the right things at the right time in the right way, I think that's when you're going to yield the best results possible.
Okay.
So yeah,
And Mr. Amr, also we want to talk about the challenges and the trial and error that you've been through, like in your journey to become, successful in the holistic path. Of course, you had to try something and it did not work.
absolutely. So of course there's struggles. Like anyone that wants to build something, wants to do something that's never been done before, and this is why obviously like I'm pushing my comfort zone. Like I live on the edge of the uncomfort, discomfort. Sorry. So I mean for me, there will definitely be a lot of challenges. There'll definitely be a lot of people that when you speak to them, until they try and experience it, they really won't understand. But this is what I will say. Once people try and experience, it completely changes his mind. Like I can say that a lot of our clients, a lot of the people that have tried our approaches, once they try it, they become believers and they become very big supporters and they start and they preach, what it is that we do. Because again, the best kind of experience is the one that you've tried firsthand. So once you've kind of experienced that and you share it and you bring someone and you refer someone, they try it, and that's kind of how it works really. But in terms of challenges, for sure, especially in cultures where maybe things like this are not so widespread, a lot of people unaccept it completely. So it took me quite a long time to empower people with that knowledge, for them to acknowledge also what it is that we do.
Mr. Amr, we have a lot more questions to come, but how about we take a short break and we'll be right back.
Absolutely, let's do it.
So, dear viewers, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We are still here with Mr. Amr Ismail. Now, Mr. Amr, we want to go and talk about your recovery centers. What motivated you to open them, and what are the goals and principles that you have in your centers?
Right. Well, ultimately, my experience suffering from an autoimmune disorder or disorder like fibromyalgia, that was one that really kind of inspired me to start. Because whenever you would go to someone and you explain your symptoms, unfortunately, they would just be like, oh, you're just being pampered. Oh, you just want some attention. When people come to express pain, up until today, the scale that we use is, hey, from 1 to 10, how much do you feel pain? Even though, look, all the advancements that have happened.
What if my 10 was your 1?
This is what I'm saying. So this is why I always say pain is always relative. So I respect everyone's pain, even if it's a 1, because he feels it. So as long as they can feel it, they acknowledge it, they know it's there. So we have to respect people's pain. And this is one of the things that I struggled with, trying to explain to people my fibromyalgia pain up until there was a certain doctor, she was a rheumatologist, and she kind of diagnosed me with it. And I started understanding how to work with it. Like you said, that pain could be like, my 10 could be your 1, so on and so forth. And I also remember this one time in my center, I had a wisdom tooth coming out. And obviously, wisdom teeth or teeth ache for a lot of people, tooth pain is very debilitating. And so at one point, I was like, okay, it's starting to affect my speech. And in our center, we have a dental clinic. So I was like, you know what? I went to my front desk. I'm like, do I have some time to just visit and see a doctor? And they're like, yeah, you can go up. Like, cool. So they got me an appointment, went up. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give you some anesthesia. This is like 10:30 in the morning. I was like, no, I've still got a full work schedule today. I can't have
I
any
cannot
anesthesia.
afford more time. Yes, yeah.
Just yank it out, and get me rid of it so I can know how to speak to my clients for the rest of the day. Like, you know, I maybe had like another 23 clients I had to see, or 20 something odd clients I had to see. And he's like, you're sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm positive. And no joke, you just yanked it out, put the little cotton gauze in. I went back down, I started doing my sessions. That pain to me, like toothache pain in comparison to my fibro pain, was nothing.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Like
so
the
that's
pain
why you
relevance,
yes, yeah.
for me
High
was
tolerance for
I was
toothache.
yeah, I was like, I can take this toothache and consider fibromyalgia. So could you imagine when people come to me and they tell me, like, you know, they've got fibromyalgia, they got chronic fatigue syndrome, or they got, like, you know, Parkinson's, and the things that they have to deal with them. So these are the things that kind of inspired me to start these kind of centers, to be able to make a difference in people's lives and have that impact, that positive impact, and show them that there is a hope, there is an alternative method, and there is maybe a different way where you can get better.
Okay.
So basically, that's kind of what inspired me. You know, every day it's our genuine goal and purpose to make a difference.
Okay.
So that's what basically wakes me up every morning. So
and speaking of that, how did you prepare yourself professionally and also personally
Right.
to embark on the journey of of being a holistic specialist?
Cool. So obviously, like I sat down. I wanted to come up with, you know, a plan of how I wanted to do it, and I understand there was going to be a lot of difficulties. So basically, I gave myself a 60-month plan that started right before the last pandemic, which ends in August 2025. I'm kind of looking forward to it, and at the same time, it's stressing me out because of the timeline.
Yes.
But, you know, I basically told myself, okay, if this works out, then I want it to be present, and I want it to be available to as many people as possible. So today we are present in Cairo, in Egypt. We are present here in Kuwait. We are present in Abu Dhabi. And obviously, I still have some more plans to expand in the region. And so, like, for me, the Middle East would be that first place that I want to set up. So far, we've been successful with doing that. Obviously, that's the professional, let's just say, part of doing. That was the goal. That was the vision. We're halfway there, 3/4 there, let's just say. But I mean, even on a more professional level, I always look at different ways of how to develop the approach.
Even academically?
Yes. So this is what I was just about to share is that, you know, I always look at new techniques, new modalities, new ways to think, new ways to approach the body. I travel every year a couple of times. I go see exhibitions. I go see new devices, new technologies, people preaching something different. Because at the end of the day, you want to be in a realm where people can preach something that aligns with you. And this is how you can create something successful.
I agree.
So if you align yourself and you mix yourself with people that speak your language and want to also, or, you know, they relate somehow to you and they're just as passionate, this is, I believe, how you can grow and develop. So I always want to travel. I want to see what the West is doing. I want to see what the East is doing. And I want to try and bring it back, develop it, and see if it kind of works with our approach. So every year we're bringing something in that's new. You know, there hasn't been a year that I've started in where I could say we haven't brought in something new. So this year, most of the things that we've done is brain training, how to train your brain to become more organized, how to become more resilient. And it's a cool kind of neurofeedback device that kind of works. It works through neurofeedback, and it's been really effective with people that, let's just say, have a lot of stress, distractions. I want to not loosely use the term depressed or anxiety, but it's been very effective as well with a lot of those people to help them cope with their daily stressors.
Yes.
So on a professional level, yes, that's it. And obviously the seminars, the certifications, so on and so forth, that's definitely what it is. So when it comes to the personal part, there's definitely a lot of burnout, to be honest, involved. But, you know, having recovery centers, I'm able to kind of work with that burnout. Like my travel schedule is insane. Like I'm actually scheduled to travel right after this. I've got a flight at midnight, and I always like take the flights, like red-eye flights right at night, because I don't want to lose anything in the day. I don't want to be less productive.
Wow.
I don't want to be there for my people. You know what I mean? So I always want to be online for them. So while everyone else sleeps, I'm running around between different countries and making sure that I'm able to keep a schedule, keep the commitments, be able to see the clients that obviously need to see me, make sure operationally everything is going well. So it really just comes down to the mindset, you know what I mean, that you have.
And the passion.
For sure,
Yes.
for sure. I always say passion is energy, always.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I was just going to ask, and I don't mean to sound lazy, but burning out, doesn't it make you, you know, less passionate about your job or your work?
For sure, for sure. But the way I look at it is I have a contract with myself. I made a deal with myself. this is what I'm going to do. Same way if someone's got a job, they're going to sign a contract, they have duties to fulfill.
Yes.
So the way I look at it is, okay, I've got my contract, these are my duties, I've got something to fulfill, no time to feel anything about it. You know what I mean? There's been instances in cases where, yeah, I could say maybe I failed at things, but with every failure comes an opportunity. And in an opportunity, you have two choices. You can be the problem, you can be the possibility and the opportunity. And this is why I'm telling you, it just comes down to your mindset. So it just depends how also that inner voice that you have and how you speak to yourself. So on a personal level, that's kind of how I can take care of it.
And when you mentioned that you travel a lot, how do different locations and cultures influence your therapeutic approach?
Well, to be honest, it's very interesting. Like you think just because maybe we're in the Middle East, we're in the Arab world, so there's maybe some certain concepts or ideas people have, but every culture is very, very different. Some people are more knowledgeable, some people are less knowledgeable, but it actually has helped me understand what we actually need even more. So maybe there are some things that we could do in a branch in Cairo, and how we position our services could be a little bit different than how we do in Abu Dhabi. But at the end of the day, we all look for the root cause of the problem, and we try to resolve that and reverse that. But definitely has helped me understand how to speak the language of what people need, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to athletes. Athletes have a very common language that they speak. So when they come to us, a lot of athletes maybe want to come to us and they're like, they don't want to tell you what they need. They need somebody to guide them, you know? And maybe being an ex-semi-professional basketball player, I speak that language. So we have set protocols for them and so on and so forth. So understanding different kind of needs of how people need and the comfort that they need to listen. Some will maybe need you to explain things a little bit more. Some will come to you because you're reputable and, you know, you have a reputation that you know what you're doing. So in every culture, there's kind of things that they kind of look for. I've noticed that. But at the end of the day, the results always speak for themselves.
Brilliant. And if you were not to choose, if you were to choose something else, what would you become?
Well, growing up, there was two things that I've always wanted to do. Was I always wanted to become an athlete. I always wanted to become a professional athlete. I actually didn't mind what sport. Basketball obviously won my heart growing up. I understood at one point I was not going to grow taller than I currently am, so that didn't really help. But you know, I was always fast, so I always used to say speed will neutralize height. So that's something that I always wanted to do. And and this is kind of what helped me come into this field as well. But if it wasn't going to be this, it was definitely going to be music. So if you ever visit one of our centers, there's always going to be music playing, and the music that's being played is a centralized playlist playing in all locations at the same time. So it's the same one. So no matter where you are, if I have a virtual consultation, if we have a virtual consultation with you, you listen to music where you are, you're going to hear it like, in the same center if you're at a different physical location.
Did you come up with the idea?
Yes.
Okay.
I came up with more or less every single element that goes on, even down to where the plants are positioned, what kind of plants, how they're positioned, everything. Even if you walk into all our centers, it's all exactly identical. Like we had Olympian Brothers, Musawi Brothers, they're sponsored by us. So if you're sponsored by us in one location, you go to any location, you're also supposed to sponsor it by us. So they had a competition in Egypt, and they actually went to the center there, and they're like, we were sitting in the room, and we just felt like we were just, in one of the other branches in Cairo, Abu Dhabi, like we felt exactly the same. So all of it is more or less streamlined with the same brand identity, absolutely.
Now, Mr. Amr, tell us about an inspiring story of an individual that you have helped.
Oh, I'll have to say it's a Parkinson patient. So my grandmother, there's many, but if there's one I really need to highlight, is going to be this Parkinson patient, because my grandmother passed away of Parkinson's way before I understood what I understood, and she was everything to me, growing up. So we now have ways to kind of reverse and normalize, obviously, the condition. And I remember he was a client in Egypt, and at that point in time, I had done a home visit, and he wasn't able to he wouldn't be able to move on his own. So he had to stand up assisted, sit down assisted, do everything assisted, to the point where he's talking on the phone and people wouldn't be able to kind of, hear him, his tongue is heavy, so on and so forth. I spent 9 days with him. I would see him every third day. And by the 9th day, he was the one coming to open up the door to greet me into his apartment. He was able to walk on his own. We actually have that video posted on my social media, on my Instagram. He was able to walk on his own. His son was telling me when I speak to him on the phone, he can hear me and I can speak to him more clearly.
Wow, mashallah.
Not only has the difference been made for him himself, has been made to the loved ones around him. Because I always say the people around you also will be affected, obviously, by your disorder. So this was one of the most, let's just say, inspirational ones that I've done. It's definitely still moves me till today.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Even like the way you were explaining, and then you've mentioned that he was the one to open it. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I was about to say, are you sure? You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. And he was actually kind enough to allow us to document it. And you get also other cases. Like I can't say that was the most inspirational. Like, sometimes when I travel, someone will stop me in an airport and grab my shoulder and be like, "Hey, I came to you after like I was stuck in bed and I couldn't move, and this is my son and this is my wife, and
wow,
I'm
that's
doing
so
this and I'm doing that."
beautiful.
So it's such a rewarding, to be honest, feeling. It's such a rewarding field, and this is one of the things that actually wakes me up in the morning, drives me. I want to
Yes.
keep on making sure I have that impact consistently being done with people.
This
So
is why you have burnout, because it doesn't matter if you have it. You still have that passion to,
absolutely,
yeah, because when
absolutely.
you're helping others, you're in a way helping yourself,
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yes. And
Absolutely.
I believe happiness comes from when you give, not when you take.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, you mentioned on social media and documenting stuff. How do you utilize social media to raise awareness about holistic approach?
Well, that's actually one of my biggest challenges. I've been in the industry for, I think I started around 2012, so good 12 years. Makes me sound old, or I feel old when I say that. But unfortunately, because when you come to work with people that might have disease, might have condition, might have pain, might have inflammation, so on and so forth, not everyone is open to being documented. So sometimes it's very challenging to get the message across. And obviously, you have to be very careful about what you put out there, just so, again, it doesn't kind of like send the wrong message that this is like kind of voodoo magic that we do. Because, like I always say, if I don't make a difference in your session, I don't charge you. So if you walk in, you walk out the same, I don't want your money.
Okay, that's a big statement.
That is
So,
that is a big statement, and I'm happy to stick by it, because for me, it's not the money that basically drives me. It's if I'm able to actually make a difference. This is what drives me. So if you come into my place, I respect it, I care to it to that point. If our techniques don't work for you, I don't want your money. That's not what drives me.
wow, I have a lot of respect towards you and your team
Yeah.
for having that put
Thank
out
you.
there for the
Thank
the people.
Yeah.
So if I come to your office and I get out the same,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not an ounce that's changed, you're not gonna take my money because you couldn't help me,
No.
not even a bit.
I will schedule you for next week, and we will see how you feel from here to next week. If you feel improvement, great. If you don't, we'll reassess. We'll work harder unless I feel it's something that's not in my scope. From the beginning, I will address and say, sorry, this is not in my scope.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I let you go, and I make sure it was a pleasure that we got to meet each other.
Now, of course, we want to ask more questions. As you could tell, I'm very excited and enthusiastic about this episode, but unfortunately, we don't have that time, and we're running out of time. I want you to tell our dear viewers a piece of advice or any last words.
Right. Well, I mean, follow your passion. Follow something that you love, something that once gives you purpose, something that you feel will actually impact the people around you. Because for me, that feeling of helping people and feeling rewarded that way, that's a priceless feeling. So no matter what it is, what industry, whatever it is that you want to do, make sure you have a passion. Make sure that something kind of drives you, because that will make you feel like you have something that fulfills you throughout your life. We're only here for a short period of time. So make sure you leave, a legacy. Make sure you leave a small impact on someone's life. These small things always count. People will always remember you by them.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to leave, a legacy for people, or a place for people to come get better, so on and so forth. So that's my little goal in life. And I mean, I always feel like people should, hopefully, if that's something that interests them, follow in that guideline. Surround yourself by good people who will listen to you, people who won't put down your dreams. Sometimes you might talk to someone and he doesn't understand your dream. It's just because you're talking to the wrong person. So dream big,
Yes,
always
dream big and
dream
find
big.
the right people to talk to. Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And as you've mentioned, you said, to always leave something kind behind, or something good to
Right.
remember by.
Absolutely.
And it's a small act of kindness, but maybe it's a big impact that you leave in people's
Absolutely.
hearts. Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr.
Pleasure's been mine.
Amr
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been amazing, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
Dear viewers, this has been a wonderful interview. Please stay tuned to wrap this up. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode. I'm pretty sure that you felt excited as I did when we talked to Mr. Amr Ismail. This interview has been very informative, and the way he explained it was amazing to learn about the new techniques and how holistic approach can help us. So we were very excited. We thank Mr. Amr Ismail, and we will see you on another episode of The Untold.